All right, what's up, guys? It's your boy Silent Z here, and today we're actually going to be talking about the dev note that just released. I'm going to probably say, like, this is my OBS settings, by the way. We're going to be talking about the dev note that they just made. This was literally just today. In my last video, I did say that, supports do matter, and basically Necros being like the one DPS, one trick pony that he is basically kind of like affecting the entire community of Marvel Rivals. And then now that we're supposed to have like a support team going on strike, but now that the dev performance, or not the dev performance, I don't know what I'm saying, but now that since we got an official dev talk, this is not a dev note, so this is not a video per se, but it's much rather what they're going to be doing in season 2.5, which will not go down until May 30th. So I can't wait to talk about this, because lately this is what I've been feeling about Marvel Rivals right now. I will say though that Marvel Rivals in season 2 feels a little bit more worse than season 1. And not because of the ranking system, I just feels like that more DPS players are more aggressive now than they were before. Like, I'm seeing a lot of more Lord Spider-Man, I'm seeing a lot of more Venoms, I'm seeing a lot more Iron Fists, more Magic players. I'm just seeing a lot of like very heavy DPS characters now. And it wasn't really like that in season 1, where it's like, yeah, sure, you still had like you still have some of the divers here and there, but they weren't really egregious enough where you see them the whole game. And so now it just feels kind of weird that, like, in season 0 there was a healer problem, in season 1 there was a Vanguard problem, and now in season 2 there's like a DPS problem. So it's kind of like these 3 seasons, or quote unquote like seasons and mid seasons, have always had like a problem with specific roles. And this is coming from a person who actually flexes on other characters. I don't just use DPS. Like, I use a Lord Star-Lord. Like, maybe 85% of my games are Star-Lord. But I also use different characters such as Mr. Fantastic, Winter Soldier. I use tanks like Doctor Strange, Emma Frost, Thor to some extent, maybe some bit of Penny Parker, and even in the strategist side, I use Rocket, Invisible Woman, Mantis. Like, yes, I use all these other characters, and sometimes there will be times where I have to do that, and then, we still don't win, but at least you can kind of know that I'm not just some one-trick pony. Like, yes, I use mostly Star-Lord, but I do use other characters at the same time. But let's just get straight into this. And this is the Dev Talk Volume 3, Volume 13, Seasonal Balance and Competitive Performance. So let's just go into this. Let me make sure, am I recording here? Okay, let's go. So, hey Rivals, with the launch of Season 2.0, we've been closely monitoring the game environment and feedback from the community. Lately, we've noticed 2 hot topics generating a lot of discussion: the impact of balance adjustments and the performance ratings of various classes in ranked play. As such, we want to take a moment to clarify and communicate about these 2 points. So essentially, this is all they said, so this is not going to be that long of a video, just how it was like last time, but we'll see how much it goes. So number 1 is season changes and mid-season balance adjustments. In previous seasons, the focus was on key abilities and energy management from ultimate abilities, resulting in a more stable combat pace. However, season 2 shifts the spotlight to coordinated attacks and focused targets, along with the necessary collective protective strategies and counterattacks, which has led to more intense combat rhythm. In this fierce environment, strategists face increased pressure, needing to monitor teammates' health closely while carefully using their key abilities and being mindful of their position on the map. Meanwhile, Vanguard and Duelists must not only attack effectively, but also provide better protection for their strategists to achieve victory. This is exactly what I was talking about in the last video. You cannot, and I say this before and I'll say it again, the Vanguards in this game, or the Vanguards that I team up with, overextend at least 75% of the time. The only time where they actually protect you is either a Doctor Strange or an Emma Frost. Everybody else, like Venom, Hulk, maybe Captain America, like, they always overextend, and they are the first ones to die without actually supplying your team. Excuse me. without you know, making sure that your healers stay alive, because you can't win the game without no healers. It's impossible. Maybe there's like a specific game, unless if the other teams are dog shit, maybe, but you cannot win any game of Marvel Rivals, neither competitive or quick match, without healers. It's impossible. Okay, so I'm fine. So I'm so glad that they're actually acknowledging this, because this has literally been like the most painful thing since season 1.5. I mean, it doesn't really say a high bar, but it's at least something, you know? In the upcoming patch, we will enhance the damage capabilities of certain strategists to elevate their threat levels, which in turn will increase team composition possibilities. That's good. Now, here's the thing. I really hope that they don't go back to season 0, because I will admit though that this right here kind of is concerning to me, because I don't want them to go back to season 0, where literally the healers were like the most aggressive. Like you saw like an Adam Warlock, and then a Mantis, and then, you know, a Loki, and then a Rocket, and like they were like a very aggressive healers when it comes to healing, especially Adam Warlock. But all I'm trying to say is that, like, I hope that these certain strategists, like, I would say, if I'm going to base on how they're going to be buffed, I'm going to probably say, I think at least Adam Warlock should definitely get a buff. Like, no question about it. Like, I've seen nobody use him. And it's kind of sad, considering that he was used back in season 0, especially with the triple support combo. Then I would probably say maybe Mantis gets a buff for more damage, but I don't want her to be too busted enough to where it's like, oh, everybody's going to use her, and then is she going to pop in the "we are undefeatable," and then every single 5 minutes, or every single, like, what, a minute or so, she gets an ult. It's just, I really hope that they don't overextend the healer's damage a little bit. But I am glad that they are acknowledging that, yes, these strategists are fragile, so they really need to up their game in terms of damage, so that way they don't have to constantly look at the back of their mind and think that, oh wait, a Magic, a Spider-Man, an Iron Fist. You get what I mean? Additionally, we will make minor adjustments to a few heroes. For example, Groot and Captain America will see slight reductions in survivability. Honestly, I don't really mind this, because for one, Groot is mostly banned in the matches that I'm in, so I really hardly face him as much. And Captain America's are a little bit annoying, but they're not as annoying to the point where you see them in every game. Again, there was a Captain America in the other episode of the team who just kept attacking their healers and literally did nothing in the process. So he was essentially just doing straight bullshit. But anyway, to be honest, I really don't mind this. I really don't mind this. Spider-Man's amazing combo damage range will be slightly decreased. Let me tell you, as much as I love Spider-Man and he's my favorite superhero of all time, I really hate how they made him in this game, because it constantly, it's like we have to always ban Spider-Man. Like almost like at least 75% of my matches, and especially in ranked, I have to, my team has to constantly ban Spider-Man, because you know, at least on the other side of the team, there's either a Lord Spider-Man or a Lord Black Panther or a Lord Magic, and mostly the time you will see a Lord Spider-Man on the other team just eating the healers and honestly having no sense of consequences, especially when they do that one combo where, like what Necklace does, where it's like you grab the whip and then you just take them out of the map like there's some kind of like cat or something. It's like, how many times am I gonna see a Lord Spider-Man on the other side of the team? It's just annoying, and especially on the maps where there are areas where you can actually ring them out. It's annoying. So I am so glad that his damage range is going to be slightly decreased, and if anything, they should have done this a long time ago, even after the beta. I don't know why they took him this now to finally realize that Spider-Man has been a major problem for so many people, because again, he was always a problem ever since the game was in probably like in closed beta actually. So I mean, I guess it's better late than never, but they should have done this a long time ago. This is probably like the number one, like it's the best case scenario. But also, why did it took them so long to finally realize this? I don't know. It's a bit strange. And speaking of strange, Doctor Strange will require less energy for his ultimate. I do play Doctor Strange, and I feel like the nerfs have gotten to him a little bit, so I'm finally glad that he's getting somewhat of an uprising. But I think he should be fine with this change. And it's a buff. It's a small buff, but it's a buff enough to where it's like Doctor Strange is not completely useless. Because again, I kind of struggle with Doctor Strange, and as much as I'm getting the hang of him in ranked, I still feel like I die with him more than I do with like getting kills with him. And I think it's probably because I'm overextending a little bit, or maybe I'm not like utilizing my surroundings, and maybe I'm not using the dark magic ability. But you know, it is what it is sometimes. And Winter Soldier's Tainted Voltage and Team Up ability will be slightly buffed. Yeah. So this was the new thing that they did. So they swapped out Rocket and Winter Soldier and Punisher's I think, what is it, ammo overload. And then they switched it with this, and really nobody used it. Even in games where there was like a Lord Captain America and I was a Bucky, that Lord Captain America never does that move. So I really hope that they change this to where it actually matters. Not that it's broken, but hopefully something that matters, okay? I don't know. We'll see. Since this is a mid-season balance adjustment, we aim to be cautious, keeping changes minimal to enhance the experience of certain heroes without drastically altering the overall meta. I think this is really reasonable, because again, you don't want to make things too broken. You don't want to make things too, you know, drastically different, especially that season 3 is probably in the horizon once Ultron is out. So I'm kind of glad that they're kind of like in the cautious route. They don't want to make too much abilities, or they don't want to make too much characters have certain ways to where they don't necessarily have, you know, that big of an impact, but at least that they're actually just addressing the major problems that's going on right now. And honestly, I think that's probably the smart move. As we move into Season 2.5 with Ultron Tomorrow and new team-up ability adjustments, we'll consider broader, more comprehensive balance changes. I can't wait, honestly. I can't wait for this. Now, let's move on to the competitive side. Now, ever since that they made the competitive side more performance-based, I always kind of glad now, because now that your performance is like, the more you do well in these matches, the less points or the more points you'll gain. And I kind of like that until I started to see the downsides. And the downsides are sometimes you'll lose points more because your other teammates will make you look bad, you know? And not because that you're yourself doing bad, because you're trying to do everything they can to get those kills, but because that sometimes there are ways to basically have favoritism in these matches instead of you actually being the one who did all the work. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is where it's going to come right here. Now, number 2, competitive performance points. In each match, hero performance rating is calculated based on the average key combat data for the hero at that player's current rank. So my rank is, let's say if I am an agent Winter Soldier, right? It's gonna basically take that data and be like, oh, well, I guess this guy is actually pretty good, you know? The more a hero's key combat exceeds the baseline for their rank during the match, the better their performance rating, and vice versa for poor performance. So yeah, this is basically what I was talking about. This right here, this is basically what I was talking about. Sometimes it will really depend on how good you are with that character, but sometimes it doesn't really translate well, especially when your other teammates are dog crap, and then all of a sudden you suffer more points because they're the ones who make you look bad, and not to mention that they're not doing the best either. Of course, these stats are adjusted based on hero usage time to ensure they aren't skewed by play time. If a player uses multiple heroes in a match, performance rating will be weighed according to their usage time. Which I didn't know, actually. I didn't know that they rate your performance based on how long you use that character. And I don't think that's not a bad thing, but it kind of hurts like the point system, especially when you're like, okay, well, this character isn't working, let me switch to another character so I can have a better chance of our team winning. So there's a little bit of an issue on that front. We noticed that compared to previous seasons, a small number of duelists have a slight advantage in performance ratings in Season 2, while some vanguards and strategists face a slight disadvantage. So this is exactly the reason why. This is why the ranked feels bad right now. Because it feels like that the duelist has more favoritism in the point ranking system than vanguards and strategists. Because again, the strategists are the ones who are keeping the teams alive. And when you don't have that, and then you have the vanguards that overextend, you start to notice other problems with your team. Because they're not forming as a cohesive unit, they're making stupid decisions over and over and over again, and they're not coming back to their healers so they can heal them in the long run. So I think that's the reason why, and plus, as a person who's mostly like a DPS main, I think this is a really reasonable change, because I'm just so sick of, like, you know, being in these roles and gaining less points from that when in Star-Lord I can gain more than like 30 points or something like that. It just really depends on the usage. However, most heroes remain balanced. In the upcoming patch, we will optimize the performance rating calculations based on the latest data to ensure fairness across all heroes. I like that. Balancing the game in ranking adjustments is a challenging endeavor, and we can't guarantee perfection 100% of the time. And that's fine, really. Like, this doesn't, like, again, when it comes to games like this, you're never going to have like a sweet 100% on balance. Some characters are either going to be broken or some is going to be very weak. And it's hard to find that balance. And I'm not trying to defend NetEase that much. I'm not trying to glaze them like purely, because I do think that there are some flaws within how they, you know, use their characters, and especially how the changes all of a sudden make all these other characters more powerful. But I will say, though, that they are acknowledging that, hey, we're not going to nail this 100% of the time, but what we can at least do is we can just tone down the complaining just a little bit more. And I like that. However, we remain humble and attentive, striving to address issues promptly and enhance your experience. Stay tuned for official patch announcements and updates. So, really, comment down below, what do you think of this patch? Honestly, this is a W Dev Talk. This is a W Dev Talk because this is basically what I said in the last video. I really feel like that the strategists really need somewhat of an edge. Not to say they should go back to Season 0, because that was kind of like a nightmare. Not to say that the matches weren't completely unplayable, but because it just felt like that the other team just wouldn't die, you know? So I'm really glad that they're toning down some of the duelist stuff, and so you have to form as a cohesive unit in order to make things happen for your team. And, you know, really, like, we all lose games, we all lose them, but it's like I feel like that I'm losing more games than I am with winning games. And it's mostly due to Spider-Mans or anti-divers such as, like, or not anti-divers, like divers such as Venom, Captain America, maybe Thor to some extent, and Doctor Strange with his, you know, his Cloak of Levitation, his Portal, and his Eye of Agamotto. So I'm really happy that they're addressing this. Again, we still don't know how this is going to play out when Ultron comes out in, you know, in May 30th. But really, hopefully, that what this means is that they are essentially making sure that the duelist might have more consequences in the future than the other roles. And not to say that's a bad thing, because I do think that I still think that the duelist is still considered to be the best class in the game, because they have more characters, they have more versatility, they are easier to understand, and they don't really require that much of brain power to use them, specifically Spider-Man's, because, well, again, Spider-Mans are a bit different because it takes them days, maybe hours, just to master those combat abilities. And then for some reason, they'll just remain abusive, and sometimes they don't really like try to do something else. Like literally, Lord Spidey's, mostly the time I get them, they're mostly dog shit. And the biggest example, it's like, let's say a Lord Spider-Man went like 3 to 15. Or maybe like a Lord Black Panther went 0 to 6. Or a Lord Psylocke that went 2 to 18. I'm not saying that those are actual statistics, but it has happened before. But, you know, again, I still love the game. I still love the game despite what's going on right now with the support strike and with the Necros comments. Like, I still love this game at the end of the day. Like, I love how Like, it always gives me something to do, even if like I don't want to play that game right now. And sometimes there are games where if you even miss one day, everything comes crashing down. And I'm glad that this game takes its time. It understands its players, it understands what it wants, and it doesn't want you to overwhelm with so much stuff. And I'm so glad that for a game company like this, I'm glad that they're actually addressing the feedback. But anyways, I'm done for this. I'm probably not going to be posting any more videos until maybe for a week. But I just really want to get these points across, where it's like, finally, that these strategists really need an edge to them to make them more, to make them feel more important, because it just feels like that most tanks and, you know, DPS players, they just love to just overextend without having the love and care of their supportive healers. So anyway, comment down below, what do you think of this? I can't wait for this to come out. I can't really wait for Ultron to come out. Hopefully it's not too busted like, you know, these other healers are. Sometimes, not all the time, but you know. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you won't miss out on any future videos. This is your boy Silent Z, and I'll catch you later.